Hi guys, welcome to episode 31 of Unethical Podcast.
Practice what you preach or change your speech.
We don't have a guest host for you this episode, but the OG Unethical crew is going to be discussing the viral suicide of Ronnie McNutt. Welcome to Unethical Podcast.
All right, so what's happening today, guys?
Well, we've got a special one for you today. For everyone who's listened this far into the show, first of all, holy shit, why? Thank you for putting up with our garbage.
Are you okay? Are you all right? We're sorry.
I know why. It's the fantastic guests we've had on the show.
It is,
Yeah.
actually. We've had some amazing guests with some amazing podcasts. Don't forget to check those out. Honestly, go check out their podcast, leave them a review, even if it's not your thing, help them out. They helped us out. They're all really good people.
Huge bushes.
Just because the supermarket has the meat on sale, maybe the fucking butcher has the same thing for a good price. You gotta sometimes shop local. Get the little guy in there, they could be just as
that's
good.
Right.
You're not helping us buy a second yacht.
Yeah, no, that's true. If you hate the podcast, that's fine. You can leave a shitty review, but give them 5 stars. Okay? Still works.
Still works. As long as the stars are there, you're all good. And if you hate our podcast and you're watching this out of pure rage, please do the same. In fact, as Richard has said before, join us. We would actually really enjoy having somebody who hates us on the show.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
We're always looking for new stuff here to keep things spicy, keep things interesting. I think it'd be nice to have someone who hates us. All right. So for everyone who's listened so far, we've taken some digs about the live stream suicide sensation that was Mr. Ronnie McNutt. And we've caught some heat for it, actually, a few times. So what I decided to do was educate myself on Ronnie and then come back and present to you why I feel the way I do about it with knowledge about Ronnie and about his situation and about the aftermath in hand. If you think that this is going to be a great epiphany or an apology, it's not. Your appallment did not make me a better person. I am just going to tell you what I know, and then we're going to tell you what we think. Let's do this.
And I'm glad you did this.
Sounds very mature and grown up of you, Celeste. Nice, good work.
What can I say? I'm wise beyond my years.
I'm still ripping this clown apart, just so everyone knows.
He's halfway ripped apart already. Let's do this.
You said you were gonna joke.
I fucking lied.
You believed her? Come on.
What did Kent call him? A blood rose.
Yeah, a predator. He turned himself into a predator.
Predator. That's right.
Here we go. Ronald McNutt was born. His name is so close to Ronald
McDonald. I was like, wait, wrong.
It's too much.
I'm glad you. I'm doing it because I know your mom likes this. The McNutt sounds like something that happens if you're bad to the guys at the front at McDonald's. They give you a McNutt in your drink.
Give you a McNutt.
That's what it says on the McChicken sauce bag. It says McNutt.
Exactly.
Ah,
It's just filled with McNutt.
Filled with McNutt. All right. So Ronald McNutt was born May 23rd, 1987. He lived in New Albany, Mississippi. And just like us, Ronnie was a podcaster.
Oh.
I bet he was really good at it.
Yeah, did he have lots of followers?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about it.
Okay, sorry.
He was involved in the geek culture podcast / blog series Just Us Geeks. And he also, for a time, had his own podcast called The Empathetic Leadership, where he and a co-host explored the theory of, quote, emphatic leadership. I don't know if that's a typo or if it's an actual business thing. But the point of this series was to teach aspiring leaders or acting leaders how to lead with decency and intelligence. The podcast didn't do a terrible job, in my opinion. They made some good points, but the message wasn't exactly groundbreaking. I did learn from listening to it, though, that Ronnie was not stupid, and he was actually capable of a fair amount of insight and originality. On the Just for Geeks side of things, between 2013 and 2014, Ronnie wrote and talked about his love of comic books, popular television shows such as Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, and The Walking Dead, and video games. He was a halfway decent writer. He wasn't bad. He had his own voice, but that voice was informative but unapproachable, in my opinion.
Sounds like a kind of nerd, a dude I'd hang out. Actually, he has a lot of common interests with me so far.
Yes. He is the kind of guy that honestly I'd have him as a guest. I'd bring him on the show.
Maybe we can.
Maybe. Ronnie was also very involved. Too soon? Ronnie was also very involved in the local theater. Apparently, he wasn't much of a performer, but he got along well with the people that he met there. He always showed up and he got the job done.
I bet you he said Macbeth.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
That's a superstition, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
For the listeners, if you're in theater and you say Macbeth in a theater, they'll get like hit with an idiot stick or something.
Yeah, Macbeth or good luck. Don't say either of those.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
break a leg.
Break a leg.
Okay. Yep.
So he was known to spend his evenings live streaming from his Twitch account or on Facebook, where he liked to get into arguments with his viewers and ramble about his interests and opinions. On the weekend, Ronnie liked to attend conventions whenever possible and soaked in all things geek like a happy little sponge. He was also pretty into fitness. He posted a lot about going to the gym and eating keto. And so far, doesn't sound like a bad dude. A little too intense to swipe right, but I wouldn't leave the club if my friend brought him along.
I liked him till the fitness keto part. I don't like those people. I'm just kidding.
I was one of those people for a while and I was absolutely insufferable. So you're not wrong.
Same.
Yep, I almost died.
Did your joints hurt? Like,
I actually ended up in hospital because I had a mini stroke because I was obsessed with being keto.
I had an amazing experience on keto. I felt fantastic.
I did too. I fucking loved it. I loved it, and I lost so much weight. I'm not. I love being on keto. I lost like 37 kilos, and I loved it. But my body fucking freaked out, and I ended up so sick. And keto obviously did not work for Ronnie McNutt. So anyway.
Well, he lost weight.
He did, yes.
Him being keto was not the point, but yes, people who do tend to be insufferable.
He did not commit suicide because he was on keto. Okay.
He did nothing of the sort.
Being on a keto diet does not make you shoot yourself in the head.
I can't guarantee that either. It might. I honestly don't know.
It depends how bad you crave the carbs.
Yeah.
I just need carbs.
Being celiac, that will absolutely make you shoot yourself in the head.
Yes. Yes. And if you eat carbs, if you're celiac, you may die.
You may die. But you know what? YOLO.
We are not a nutritionist podcast. So
we are now. Unethical nutrition.
Oh my God.
This is all trial and error, people.
Yeah, imagine the recipe book we'd put out with that. Just like 2 scoops of butter, bacon.
That's it.
Butter.
Butter.
Bacon. It's called a bacon salad.
Easy summer weeknight dinner. 2 sticks of butter.
2 kilos of bacon.
The whole bucket of mayonnaise.
I'll stop interrupting you now, Celeste. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Oh, we'll also have to include veal in there because that upsets people.
Yeah.
Okay, so from what I could gather, Ronnie's relationship with his family was overall very good. He shared photos on his Instagram with his family regularly. He shared one particularly nice post about his niece's graduation. His father passed away in 2018, and he posted with what seemed to be a legitimately heavy heart about it. Apparently, he also actually performed a eulogy at the funeral, but YouTube had removed the video, so I couldn't watch it. but I did see it on several like Reddits and things like that where people were like, this gives me such a new perspective on him. He was such a nice guy, but you know what? So he had nothing but nice things to say about his dad. And one friend of his said that Ronnie's mother was a, quote, wonderfully sweet woman. He had 2 siblings, and I assume their relationships were also good since he was involved with his nieces and nephews. His 3 nieces, 2 nephews. Ronnie was a U.S. Army Reserve veteran. He served in Iraq between 2007 and 2008. And to give you a little context, 2007 was the year that George W. Bush increased the number of American troops in Iraq under the New Way Forward approach. The goal of that was to help the Iraqis secure the landscape and provide support until such a time as they could protect and support themselves. 2007 was also the deadliest year for American troops in Iraq, with a total of 904 casualties.
Sorry, he was a reservesman though? Like he wasn't even like, no offense.
He served in Iraq.
I get that, but I mean, it's only because he got called out there for a year. It's not like he did a full, like usually a tour is what, like 2 years, 2.5 years?
He was out there for 2 tours, I believe.
2 tours? Okay. I'm just curious. It's not like he went into the army because he wanted to get into the reserves and then he got pulled. Like, fuck, that usually doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah. I don't know for certain. The American troops were already in Iraq, were already in Iraq at the time. So I don't think his odds of being sent over were that unlikely before this, right? But he was sent over as part of that extra, I believe it was 20,000 troops that they sent that year.
Yeah, he would have been in the last crew that they called over.
Yeah, for sure. My parents were both in the reserves. My parents were both in the reserves a lot when actually that's how they met. And usually that's the people that stay in your country, right? And they only call them last to be pulled over if they need other people, right? So I don't think his intention in joining the army was to go to Iraq. It was to be in the reserves, right? To be
potentially.
Yeah, that's I'm just asking because so maybe he got sucked over there. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, we don't know for sure if this was something like that he really believed in, or if this was a job.
I'm not knocking the reserves because my parents both were in it.
Someone's got to hose down the hippies
for sure.
All right, we'll go on. When Ronnie returned from Iraq, his friends say that he was a different man, and that is just the extent of the quote that I can find about it. He was a different man. Ronnie suffered from PTSD and became very involved in the mental health community, and was involved with the local clinic providing support for people who were suffering. He actually wrote and spoke extensively about his own experiences with PTSD as well as depression.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Was he still doing the podcast when he got back, or
he was a podcaster after he got back?
Okay.
This wasn't something that he did before he left.
Okay, cool.
At least he's finding some sort of outlet.
Prior to 2007, I really don't know much about him at all.
Okay.
So Ronnie was employed at a Toyota auto plant. He was involved, and that's a separate point. He was employed at a Toyota auto plant, and I didn't put this in here, but I will mention because I was thinking on it last night. He had gone through several different companies, all sort of in this related field. I know that the one that he held the highest position at, I believe, was Under Armour. He was a manager at that point, but he went through several of these different sort of positions, and he was management in quite a few of them. He was involved in the local church, and he was a religious man. According to his Instagram, he wasn't exactly like the insufferable type of religious. He openly supported people of the LGBTQ, ABCDEFG. I don't know what it is anymore, but that community, as well as all people of color. But he did kind of like climb up God's ass all the fucking time.
Someone's got to.
Yeah. So
we're all just waiting to be a little lemony winks for God.
Climb up his blowhole.
I'm cool though. Even if heaven's a real place, just leave me here. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'll take my chances with the aliens. Thank you.
I'll take my chances underground or in ashes.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. So up until the time of the live stream, he was in a relationship with a woman. I'm not going to put her name on blast. It's not hard to find though. According to his Facebook, I had to dig a little back for this. They started dating in May of 2020. That's all I know. about Ronnie McNutt leading up to his suicide. It is not a lot of information, but it is information that overall portrays Ronnie as a good guy. Hardworking, caring, people pleaser. In fact, it's too good.
Hero.
It is the equivalent of saying someone lit up a room when they walked in.
Yeah. It looks good on paper.
No one is going to come forward and say that they hated this fucking guy.
Yeah,
no one's social media is going to highlight their shittiness because it is an idealized portrayal of what we want to be. Yeah. Digging into his Facebook, he posted obsessively about being a leader and how other managers were too into authority and not into the people, which looks good when you're a martyr, I guess. And I don't know the truth, but this is what I do know. On August 31st, 2020, Ronnie started a Facebook live stream around 9 p.m. He was very drunk. I don't know if he was getting drunker during the stream or not. I believe he was drinking. He spent about 45 minutes arguing with people, and then around 10 p.m., he grabbed his hunting rifle. Some misinformation out there. It was not a shotgun. It was a hunting rifle. And he accidentally discharged the weapon because he was totally wasted and gun control is for suckers. At this point, the viewers were really concerned and they began reaching out to him via phone and social media, and some of them contacted the police. A couple of hours before he started the stream, he posted like one of those sort of moody motivational images, the kind that you would find if you Googled quotes about suicide. And this image said, someone in your life needs to hear that they matter, that they are loved, that they have a future. Be the one to tell them.
So he's fishing for people to do.
Yes. Well, yes. Yeah. Whatever you want to call that, a cry for help. It's, up for speculation. Think what you want to think.
Yeah, okay.
This was not, by the way, digging into his Facebook, this was not the first time he posted something like this. He had made several posts about helping people who are suicidal. So police arrived on the scene a few minutes after the misfire. They cordoned off the neighborhood and evacuated the neighbors in order to ensure the safety while dealing with an armed, unstable man. They used a megaphone to call out to him from outside the house, which he ignored. The police were actually watching the stream from outside, along with a friend of Ronnie's. And, a lot of the things that I listened to and that I read really came at the police for not doing more, to save this man's life. The police had no other choice but to do what they were doing. The risk of the life of an officer or even of the life of Ronnie was just far too high for them to go bursting through the door. All they could do was try to make contact.
Yeah, this isn't a school shooting where they want you to run at the shooter because then they're going to hurt everybody else. It's a guy by himself in a room. You're going to lock that down until you can get him out safely.
I was going to say, it's like a cross between an active shooter and a hostage situation. It's almost mingling.
I've seen and read reports where somebody got called in for like a gun report. Somebody was drunk and a man lost his life. The police went barreling in there. The guy was unstable, was drunk, didn't know what he was doing, and they ended up shooting him because he was armed or whatever.
And he's already shot the gun. He's already shot the fucking rifle on accident already.
Yes.
So fuck knows what's going to happen if they just go bursting in through the door.
Exactly. Keyword accident. He's a loose cannon.
Yeah.
Literally.
He's a loose rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those things can go penetrate wall through wall through wall.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It depends on your caliber. And
this was not a high quality weepen. This was about the cheapest kind of hunting rifle you could buy, and that 22? Was testimony from a friend of his. Yes.
Right.
So yeah, if the police had done literally anything else in this position, it would have been highly irresponsible of them. Good for you guys. You did the right thing. Yeah.
And he wasn't at an apartment building, correct?
No, house.
No. Okay.
Yeah, big up to our boys in blue on that one.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Boys in beige out there.
All right.
Yeah. He's in the sticks, I believe. So, okay. For those of you who have not seen the video, allow me to describe it to you. Ronnie is sitting at his desk. His computer is pinging wildly. His phone is ringing endlessly. Ronnie is watching the messages and the phone calls as they come in and lashing out against the people who are contacting him. His mother phones him He doesn't answer, and instead he spits out, "You never reached out when I needed you." She's watching. He knows it. He gets a Facebook message, and he spars against the Best Buy manager for never giving him a shot, even though he's the best damn manager ever. He says that he will walk out that door if his ex-girlfriend calls him. He calls her out by name. That's all he wants. He continues to babble about it being too late to be sorry. He reads messages, he declines calls, he spitefully exclaims that he doesn't even know half the people who are sitting on the other end begging him to stop. Now everybody wants to act like I'm significant, he says. His phone rings, and he answers it this time, because it's the woman that he wants to talk to. "You want to talk to me now?" he fires at her. He moved the phone away from his ear at this point to decline an incoming call, during which you can hear her say something about him constantly antagonizing her. He wasn't listening. He puts the phone back to his ear, and he repeats himself. "You gonna talk to me now?" Whatever she said, he didn't like it. He says, "Oh, is that the way you're gonna be?" And he hangs up the phone. "Hey guys," he says, acutely aware of his hold on the audience, drawing them back in for his finale. "I guess that's it." He pulls the barrel of the rifle under his chin, and in a flash, what was once a man is now a horrific lotus fountain of carnage. He remains upright in his chair because even in death, he needs to be the center of attention. His little dog wanders into the room, but with no fucks to give, it wanders back out shortly after. For a moment, the phone and the computer are silent. The only sound is his blood pouring like an overflowing eavesdrop in a summer storm. And then a crash. "Sheriff's office," shouts the officer. Who knows it's already too late, the spectacle having already reached the devices outside. He comes into view, followed by a man in flip-flops. "God damn," says the officer. "God damn indeed."
That explains why they're in beige. It's the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
The scariest part of that video for me was that cop walking in shorts and thongs.
Not a cop. That was a friend. That was a friend of Ronnie's. It wasn't a cop.
Oh, okay. Because I watched it and I was just like, mate, you should not be walking in there with just thongs on.
There's a lot to unpack on this. Okay. I got a couple questions. So you said that he started dating this girl in like May 2020 and this was August 2020?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was that recent. I had no idea.
It's like 4 months.
So it's 3-4 months and they broke up in between. So this guy's like trying to emotionally manipulate this girl. Okay, first of all, see, this is what I mean. There's so much to unpack, but I'll get through that. So he's emotionally manipulating this girl to like call him with a fucking gun. That's just like not okay.
Yeah, that's gross.
Very gross. But he's also posting on Facebook, like, if anybody ever needs help, give them a call. And people are trying to call him, trying to help him. And he's basically ditching their fucking calls saying, "Oh, you don't want to call me when I need it." Like, you obviously need it now too, man.
That seemed like a big guilt trip to just everyone involved in his life. Just grabbing their attention. But he was threatening suicide prior, correct? Like he was saying, if she doesn't answer, I'm gonna shoot myself. Or was he just waving the barrel of the gun?
He was just refusing to leave the situation. He was refusing to go outside and meet the police officers. He was refusing to end the situation, to put down the gun until she called. Yeah.
Okay.
Ronnie pulled the trigger at 10:30 p.m. The video remained on Facebook until 2 a.m. During that time, a flood of reports were submitted to Facebook, each of them being met with an automated response that the video does not violate any community guidelines.
He made art.
Well, it was not detectable by their AI, I guess.
He probably put in asterisks that he does not own the rights to this music. Algorithms, am I right?
In our group, we've had people get their posts taken down because it was that guy who got eaten by the beluga whale. Like, why? That Facebook will detect that beluga whale?
Yeah, but not a guy that shoots his face off.
Any articles that are spammed with like a ton of frequency, Facebook will take down because they assume that it's like bots that are doing it. So like viral news articles and things, they'll take that down just because you shared it. It's nuts.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about his dog not giving a shit about him. That's kind of funny too.
That's kind of the creepiest part to me. Okay,
we're gonna keep going. Before we get into it, I want to try to keep ourselves a little bit level here. There's more.
The dog is part of the story.
The dog is the most important member of that household.
Okay, That's right. Sorry.
All right, so the internet absorbed it and then multiplied it. That is what the internet does. In the coming weeks, the video would go viral on Facebook, but worse than that, it went viral on TikTok. The most depraved souls of the web spliced the money shot into innocuous photos of cute animals and chesty women dancing to drop bombs of trauma on unsuspecting users.
That's how I got it.
I was going to say unsuspecting kids because TikTok is geared towards children.
Yep.
TikTok had close to 1 billion users at the time. It has significantly more now. 33% of those users were between the ages of 10 and 19. Many of those viewers were even younger than that, using mommy's iPad, maybe. There were reports of children as young as 8 being exposed. Maybe Ronnie's own nieces and nephews were assaulted with it. In fact, I do know that his nephew did catch shit for it at school. Kids were having nightmares. They were having fits of uncontrollable shaking and crying. Some kids missed school for several days while they recovered, and undoubtedly many of them probably still see it when they close their eyes.
Mental scars.
Well, he knew this was going to leave mental scars with his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend at least. So he must have known there'd be other mental scars. His mom was fucking watching. Like, what a piece of shit.
And he had many outlets on the suicide prevention. He worked in a center, right? He volunteered in a center.
He worked in a mental health clinic.
Okay. Yeah. So he probably has those friends on Facebook or, relatives of. Oh, that's terrible.
And he knows the repercussions of suicide. He knows it has a ripple effect throughout the community, through the family members. It's not like this is like he didn't work in a place where that was prevalent. So like for him to do that, I know he was probably in a shitty state of mind, fine. But at the same time, he still knows that there are repercussions beyond what you're trying to accomplish for doing this.
Yeah.
He was in a bad state of mind, but his phone was ringing.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. He even said, call me anyways, a fucking guy.
I just wanted to add.
He's been a fucking hypocrite. Like he's put that out there, reach out. And when these people are reaching out to him, he's like,
They didn't reach out to him in the time frame that he expected.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So it was on his fucking terms. Like,
yes. So trolls tried to attack his family with the video. They delivered it to them in many different forms, hoping that they would be forced to see it accidentally. Someone made a fake account claiming that they were Ronnie and that he had faked his death because life just sucks. He brought some false hope to people. No one is here to pretend that internet trolls aren't terrible.
Yeah, people were Ronnie rolling people instead of Rick rolling people.
Yes,
they were Ronnie rolling.
They were.
Nobody's gonna blow your brains out. Nobody's gonna clean up the wall.
Did you make that up on the fly?
He's wheezing.
I did. Too soon?
Okay.
oh.
Speaking of internet trolls, my bad. Keep going.
Yeah, that's fucking gross. His family didn't deserve that shit. That sucks.
No.
Bad on trolls.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a little bit, preachy with this one a little bit. Much of the script at this point is actually just me sort of puking my opinions out onto paper.
Do it.
So here's the thing. Who are we to demonize people that share this video, spread this video, while simultaneously ignoring that Ronnie McNutt is the reason that this video exists? Why is it not your own choice what you do with media once it's out there, when it was his choice to force it into the digital space? in front of his friends, in front of his own mother. He held their attention hostage, and he used it as leverage to force a woman who did nothing more than exercise her inarguable right to end a relationship into re-entering his orbit. When he did pull the trigger, he did it with one intention. And you know what? You want to say that intention was to end his life? You're wrong. This is not an opinion. You are wrong. His goal was hurting as many people as badly as possible. He understood PTSD. He lived with it. He knew it. He knew it was something that you should never wish on your worst enemy, and he purposefully inflicted it on his friends and families and countless bystanders indirectly. And furthermore, he understood internet trolls. He was an internet troll. He relished upsetting people on his Facebook by sharing memes about an anime show called The Full Metal Alchemist. Have any of you seen that?
Some of it. I haven't seen all of it.
The storyline, to give you some context, it's a deeply disturbing storyline. An alchemist combines his young daughter and her dog into one creature. It's horrifying. And it is troll heroin. He knew what happens to things like this, and he knew what people do with the internet. So it is not lost on me that it takes a deep state of mental dysfunction to be able to stand face to face with your survival instinct and flip at the bird. But I do think that his dysfunction was the result of cognitive dissonance. He believed himself to be kind, to be empathetic, to be friendly, when in reality, the reality that he struggled against was that he was argumentative, introverted, entitled, and attention-seeking. On Facebook, for example, he would accuse his friends, and this is whatever, an attempt to look intelligent, whatever you want to call it. He accused his friends of experiencing the Dunning-Kruger effect, and that effect describes someone with low abilities that overestimates their own abilities. Well, he will turn around and post about him experiencing imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is self-doubt in your own competence when your abilities are high. I found that very telling personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, in my opinion, he pushed himself so far in a time when his mental composure was weak because of his breakup and his alcohol use, that he released something that he could not rein back in. He knew that you don't just put down the bottle, you put down the gun, everything goes back to normal. Now that you've crossed this line, you can't repress who you actually are. He would end up in a psych hold, probably lose his job. His mother would never look at him the same. His friends would walk on eggshells if they ever forgave him in the first place. No one would respect him as a manager because he couldn't even manage his own life. He ensured that he could not change his mind the moment that he uttered his ultimatum on a public platform the way that he did. Mm-hmm. And if you need any more convincing that he wasn't the great guy that he wanted to be, there is only one person quoted in every single source. Every article, interview, everything on this man, one guy talking about what a good guy he was. And that guy is reaping the benefits. I'm not going to put him on blast. It's not hard to find. He's benefiting a great deal from putting up with Ronnie for as long as he did.
I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are Killer Fun. We explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week.
For as long as people have been communicating, they have been talking about who did what to whom, and is that socially acceptable?
Because the boundaries of society,
crime,
and entertainment have always gone hand in hand.
The more salacious,
or weird,
the better. From books and movies
to television shows and games,
we look at how life and art imitate and inform one another.
And we can't get together and not laugh. So let's face it, there's going to be laughing.
Killer Fun is available anywhere you listen to podcasts, so join us.
It's hard to disagree with. I have no problems agreeing with that at all. Like, mm-hmm. I feel bad in a way that you had to be that sad. Like, you had to push yourself to that limit. But as soon as you make it about somebody else, then it's about them too. And now you just made it fucking awful. It's not sad anymore. It's just awful. What you did was awful and fucking shitty. My kids could have potentially seen that. They're on TikTok, you asshole. Like, go fuck yourself. You want to do stuff like that? Do it in the privacy of your own home. Go in the middle of the bush. Don't do it for everyone to see. It's rude. It's not cool.
And he got what he wanted out of the deal and still traumatized everyone. She called him. He talked to her.
Yeah.
Maybe he just wanted to know she was listening.
And he ultimately is still getting what he wants because
Yep.
we're still fucking talking about it. Like, he wanted this attention. He wanted everyone to focus on him and he wanted to be seen. And now there are fucking countless podcasts doing stories about him.
And we're probably going to get in shit for this opinion. We're probably going to
But
fucking
that's
hear
fine
about it.
because we're all allowed to have our own opinion on this subject. Like, have no problem with people saying, you know, that he was hard done by and he was, you know, because you don't shoot yourself in the fucking head if there isn't something wrong. Like, sure, I understand he had shit going on, he was in a bad place, but you don't do it in the way that he did it.
You don't do it on live television. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you don't do it. Like Celeste said, he knew what PTSD was. He dealt with it and he set it up so he was making sure that countless other fucking people, including people in his family, his own fucking mother, were going to have to deal with the same thing. And that is fucked. Because as a person that has PTSD, I would not wish it on my worst fucking enemy. And he set it up so these people that he supposedly loved and cared about would have to deal with the same things for the rest of their life.
But he was the troll. He was the initial troll in this scenario to his family, to his friends, to his past lovers, all things. People who never met the man are being affected.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure there was other people that just liked his Twitch stream that was like, oh, he's going live tonight. Oh, he's off the rails. Let's get some popcorn. Whoa, not expecting that. Fuck. But I'm glad we're talking about this in this way, though, because people have lost, and the general audience, in my opinion, has lost like nuance. And yes, suicide's bad, and yes, you got to be in a shitty mindset. But sometimes suicide is fucking, yeah, it's part of your mental health, but also you're an asshole for doing it. And I'm glad that we're talking about it because this is a way. This is not the way to do it. You know, this is in a live public forum, especially the internet with all the troll. Like, you're right, man. You knew it. You knew all this was going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. He wasn't stupid. He was not. He was incredibly intelligent, and he knew exactly what he was doing.
Not everyone's great just because they died. Like, there's a famous line from, it's not famous, I guess, but it's a band I listen to as a one of his lyrics is, when you're alive you're all right, but when you die you're a saint, or whatever. It's that's what always happens. And then everyone goes, oh, poor mental health him, but like, this guy was an asshole. That was an asshole move, and we should all call him out on it. I'm glad us, if we have to be the people to do it, I'm doing it. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, he knew full well the outlets that he could have taken prior to just wanting to talk to a lady. She didn't deserve that.
Oh yeah, she probably has the worst of it.
He worked in mental health. He knew the places that he could get help for himself. Like, he refused.
And I mean, yeah, you know, someone's going to say, well, you don't make the same decisions as you do when you're drunk, but he already accidentally fired that rifle. The foreshadowing is already done. He played out the rest of the script on his own. He foreshadowed it himself.
And if he already knew all the things that he had going on with himself, like his mental health problems, his PTSD, his depression, whatever, he shouldn't be fucking drinking in the first place. So if he's so woke and knew all about all these things and he was so intelligent, then he would have known he shouldn't be drinking anyway. Because if he was on medication, if he was on antidepressants, if he was on benzos and he was drinking, then he was setting himself up to act, you know, to go nuts.
Yeah, and at what point are we lucky that he did it to himself? Because people in that same situation have been known to turn that gun on other people. In fact, if she had come over instead of calling, would he have just shot her? We don't know.
I think there's something to be said about him calling her and making her be there. Like, it's...
I can add to that if you want.
Yeah, please do.
72% of murder suicides are committed by men. So it's a pretty high percentage. And then the other percent is women actively, shooting their children and then themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm pretty sure men have like the highest suicide rates just in general, right? Like,
I believe so. 75%, I think.
yeah, we have it hard. White men have always had it hard, so I can see why.
Oh, so you guys are so victimized.
I agree. Haven't you been through enough?
You have it worse than the gay community, man. I feel so sorry for you.
Oh, the gay community has like been oppressing the straight white male.
I know. I'm so sorry, Richard. On behalf of the entire LGBTQZ fucking
A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. I can't remember what it is anymore.
I wholeheartedly apologize to you as a straight white male for having to feel victimized by us.
As it should be. You guys, I know this is exhausting and this is frustrating. I'm not done.
No, I know. I figured.
Go for it.
So, following Ronnie's suicide came the hashtag Reform for Ronnie. And the movement's demands are as follows. They want social media platforms to accept responsibility for the content on their platforms. They're not responsible for what people post. We are accountable to ourselves.
That's why we watch ads. We're paying to be there.
We're paying you, fucker.
Yeah.
Take my shit. Platforms need to respond efficiently when violations occur. How are they supposed to respond quickly and efficiently when goddamn cancel culture forces them to monitor everything, ban everything, censor everything, so that when actual dangerous content comes up, how the fuck could they get to it in a reasonable amount of time when everyone's wasting their fucking time?
Somebody was playing Santeria. We were too busy shutting him down. Santeria was playing in the background. He was live with that. You can't have that.
Someone posted a Hitler Valentine's. Get 'em, boys.
Yeah, someone posted a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Not on my watch.
As a side note, just sorry, do you see that the cops now with their fucking people start live streaming them? They start playing popular music, so Facebook shuts them down. What a bunch of assholes.
Ah, that's awesome.
Asterix, I do not own the rights to this music.
Yeah, cops are assholes.
YouTube will automatically detect it regardless of what you put in the description.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they'll shut you down right away.
Yeah.
Who uses YouTube? I'm just kidding.
I do.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Every person.
I'm going to now.
Third demand. All trolls or term violators, which apparently is everyone, should lose
Celeste.
their accounts should lose their accounts permanently with full IP bans. Well, then there's no platform. And then all you have left to do is attack each other, and then you'll all be hailing Hitler because you have to be contrarian.
Mm-hmm.
Not a solution, people. This movement also pretends that their demands are not the same thing as censorship. Call a spade. Don't be a coward.
Really?
Yep.
So the movement is actually spearheaded by the Just for Geeks website that Ronnie was a contributor on between 2013 and 2014, as I mentioned. The individual who owns it skillfully skirts around the way that he has immensely benefited from the flash fame of Ronnie, while simultaneously preaching about how this would have all been avoided if Facebook had just shut down the feed when the report first came in. Whether or not that is true, it is not Facebook's fault that Ronnie decided to take his drama live. I would also take him a lot more seriously if he didn't plug his podcast on everything. Either you're trying to set the record straight or you're milking it. If you're just there to support your buddy, your link doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, is this the guy that was doing all the interviews too?
Yes. Oh shit. Oh fuck. Well, it's out there now.
Oh, whatever.
Oops.
Oh.
Big oops.
Sorry, I'm just like,
I didn't hear a name.
No name.
did he like put his fucking podcast in the articles?
He was probably wearing all the merch. He's wearing all the merch on the TV, on the ads.
All of the interviews, our articles, it's always blah, blah, blah from Just for Geeks, blah, blah, blah from Just for Geeks. Like on the, like, you know how like a YouTube podcast will have like cover art? The cover art will say featuring blah, blah, blah from Just for Geeks, not blah, 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 friend of the deceased or something like that. Like, fuck off. You know what you're there for. You're a fucking coward and I hate you.
Lots of people look at tragedy as opportunity, right? It's one man's tragedy is another man's opportunity. So
how did I want to wrap this up? People have to live with this forever. people who witnessed it, people who did nothing wrong. I wondered to myself if he, had turned the gun on other people instead of himself. Would people be kissing his ass this way? Would we be just dying to understand why he did this? And I feel like yes, probably, because that is what we do as it is. But at least a spree shooting ends. He fired out round after round of trauma and horror into a crowd of his friends and family while simultaneously ensuring that all of those rounds end up headshots in an endless supply of onlookers because he was pissed off that his girlfriend got sick of him.
Yeah. And some people can handle this kind of video, but like some of these other people that have seen this that didn't want to, they could potentially become self-harmful as well. Like you could have made this, you could have just as easily pointed a gun at them and shot them if they end up going to kill themselves. I'm not saying anybody has, or don't quote me on that, but what I'm saying is trauma has different. I can watch a fucking reporter get their head lobbed off. I've done it many a times, but I'm used to it. I do this stuff for my own interest in true crime. But it's just little old lady Mabel that lives next door to me wouldn't be able to handle that. Who knows if she's going to take all the rest of her Valium because she doesn't want to live in a world where a young man like that can't handle being broken up with by a fine girl. Who knows?
Yeah. Or little Elizabeth, who thought she was going to watch a bunny video.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's just say he joined the Army Reserves because he thought that he would stay local. And he never had even like the inkling that he would end up going over and seeing horrible things. Let's say that he was the kind of person that was not prepared for that. He just thought it would be, a cushy position, whatever. He goes into Iraq. He sees horrible things. He comes back with PTSD. Now what he's done is he has done the same thing. He's forced horror onto someone who wasn't ready for it. What did Ronnie McNutt do? Blew his fucking head off. Maybe this other person that's now traumatized with PTSD is going to blow their fucking head off.
Well, for sure. That's like, this is how this stuff works. People, it's mental illness most of the time. And then the other time it's PTSD and stuff like that, or heartbreak or whatever. It's all mental illness, right? So mental illness can be like hereditary, or it can be brought on by external factors. Let's try and keep the external factors off and deal with the hereditary ones. Let's not add to people's fucking horror. And if you can't handle stuff like that and it comes across your desk, it sucks. You don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, right?
And it's real life. This happened in real time in front of people's eyes. And I know people my age still who will not ever drive behind a truck full of logs because they watched Final Destination.
Final Destination 2.
Whatever.
I
thought it was 5. The Final Destination.
Yeah.
But I mean, there you go. That's a form of PTSD. That is remembering something you've seen and avoiding it.
Yeah, and that's just from a movie you chose to watch, right? Like
exactly.
That's just a movie. I wanna feel bad for this guy, but I can't at all. I want to because I can't imagine being in so much pain where putting a muzzle, like a bullet in my brain is okay. I don't want to be, and I don't want people to think that we're being insensitive towards this guy, because I am sensitive to his pain, but I'm not sensitive to what he did to everybody else. I really am not, and I don't like
exactly.
It was hypocritical all the way around. Practice what you preach or change your speech.
Yeah, and people only started reporting on this guy after this kind of stuff happened, so there's not very much out there, like Celeste said, which is kind of sad, because it'd be nice to, I don't know, I guess, who wants to put the parents through that? It'd be nice to know if he was really a dickhead or not, and it would have been nice to have that.
And like Celeste said, there's no one that knew him in before this is going to come out and be like, Ronnie was actually a fuckhead, because everyone's going to go, well, you're a piece of shit because he's dead.
He never said, I need help.
No, he never explicitly said it, and communicating in the form of memes is not communication. I just remembered what I wanted to say. I want to make it very clear, I am not excusing the people that ripped this video and put it out there. I think they are just as terrible. I do. I think if one of them, something bad happened to them and somebody wanted me to support them, and then I found this out that they did this thing, I would be like, fuck them too. I'll do an episode about it. I don't care. It's just as bad, but we need to stop discounting the reason that it exists in the first place. And that was the point of basically this whole thing.
Trolls also, and I'm just playing devil's advocate to a point, right? They sit there and they scour the internet trying to find interesting shit. They find a head exploding different for them, and they're just going to run with it. It's like art, and I'm sorry to say, it's just taking what you have as your tools in front of you and making something out of it. And I kind of give them the pass for it. I'm sorry, trolling is part of the internet, and it's not cool like showing 6-year-olds, but that's I'm torn on it. I'm torn because
if you give them the ammo, they're gonna fucking use it. So yeah, because it's what they do. They're all pieces of shit, and they want this is their job. This is what they want to do. So if you're gonna give them a fucking video of you blowing your face off, they're gonna use it. Yeah. So
they are, and then when they blow their face off, don't expect me to feel bad about it. That's kind of the message here.
Well, it's like they told us in like 2006, everything you post to the internet is going to stay there forever.
It is not even a little bit untrue.
Yeah, it's not a legend. It's not a folklore.
People will watch this video 20 years from now, just like they watch fucking ISIS videos from 20 years ago. This is just how the internet works.
I literally think people will watch that in 500 years as digital archaeology is a thing. I believe that is going to be studied. What did great grandpa Richard like to do on his time? Oh, I don't want to see the frauding porn. I've gone over this before.
Yes.
But they'll know everything that was going on, right? So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you can be the person who holds the door open for people your whole life, but you're not a good person when you resent the people who didn't ask you to open the door for not thanking you. And I think I got that from like Orange is the New Black or something, but I was thinking about that.
Dang it, I love that
so much to Ronnie's outlook on life. He complains so much about fucking work, about the managers not giving him what he wanted without ever stopping to acknowledge that perhaps the reason why that was is because you're not that good of a manager, or working to improve himself in any way while preaching to other people how to improve themselves. Well, it's like, you know what? If you were all the things that you said you were, you would be where you want to be. Yep. It is that simple. If you are what you say you are, you will be where you want to be.
Yeah.
If you're not,
it's almost like he used, the outward Ronnie as like a projection of what he wanted to see from other people, but at the same time, he never led by example.
Yeah, well, you know what? I doubt he started any of his live streams with, "Hey guys, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope you're all doing well. If somebody's not feeling super good, reach out to me. I want to talk to you. We'll talk about it. Hey, anybody going through?" He probably just went, "These fucking Pepsi company with their fucking halftime show," or some shit. I don't know what he complained about. I can't watch the live videos, but something like that. He just spouted and loved to argue with people and be contrarian, and that was like firsthand said by other people, and also comes up on his social media footprint. That is all I have to say about Ronnie specifically. I do have one more point that I want to cover before we finish up here today, but any more closing thoughts on Ronnie?
It makes you think of that guy that killed the reporter on live Facebook Live, but at least that guy went and did somebody else. Like I've
what? I mean, at least
no, but it's he didn't get everyone that he knew in a place and then blow his brains out in front of them. At least he just did it because he was psycho. Like it's a different.
Well, there was a man a few years ago who he went on like a cross city tour shooting people on Facebook Live.
It was
saying,
in New Zealand.
I'm gonna kill another one if my girlfriend doesn't call me. Oh, she's not. Bang. I'm gonna kill another one. It was a I don't remember exactly. I just remember that one of the videos he walks up to a black man on the street and he's like, "Hi, how you doing? Can you say this name for me? Can you say it?" And it was his girlfriend's name. And the guy says, "Oh, okay." And he says it. And he's like, "This is for you. I'm gonna do it again if you don't call me." Puts the gun up and the guy's like, "Oh God, no," and fucking blows him away. And he went and did this a bunch of different times.
Oh, that was a different one. There was one in New Zealand where a guy live streamed himself running into a mosque, and it was full of people. They were all in there praying, and he live streamed mass shooting.
Social media, this is what we do. We sensationalize these videos. And I understand, because in a lot of these situations, the point is the sensationalizing. The point is that they want this spread and they want their message heard. This was not his goal. His goal was not to sensationalize and put out a message. His goal was strictly just to hurt people, just to hurt a woman, just to hurt his ex-girlfriend specifically.
This girl. Yeah.
It was a revenge thing.
I want to preface, we never really can fully grasp when psychosis is taking hold, because your brain can deny you that fact is happening.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if maybe was he on the brink or in a state of psychosis?
Yep.
Or was this?
We'll never know.
He was a little too organized, I think.
Okay.
Considering his state of drunkenness, I think he showed a little bit too much organization.
I've seen the video a couple of times, and I didn't even know he'd been drinking.
Yeah,
Me neither.
Agree.
He does not appear drunk to me.
Now that I've listened to his podcasts, I can hear a big difference.
Right. Okay.
And I think you hit it a little bit on the head too, Celeste, when he's talked about how he had gone a little bit too far out of the bottle and he couldn't put it back in. I think that might be the driving motivation as to what happened near the end of it all. It was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna shoot myself. I'm gonna fuck everyone. I'm gonna shoot myself.
He exposed too much of his real self to ever go back to normal.
Good point.
That gives me a little bit of sadness for it.
Yeah.
That being said, he understands mental illness. He understands that if he had just, or at least he knows from his work that if you just put the gun down, you step out, you go and you get your treatment, people sympathize for mental illness. People will not hold against you
people
something.
Have more respect for that. You have more respect for someone going, fuck, I am fucked up, man. I need some help.
I'm at the edge of my rope. I'm going to do it. I don't want to do this. I go get help. Everyone's going to forgive you. Not just fuck you, mom, fuck you, ex-boss, fuck you, girlfriend. You know what? Watch this, bitches. No, that is, you don't come back from that.
Because up until that point, it was just an accidental gun firing and him being drunk on Facebook Live. Like, that is easy to recover from. You might get a fine.
Easy to play off.
Yeah.
Like, oops, I was drunk. Didn't realize my safety was off or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do know, I personally, two of my friends have committed suicide in the year of 2020. They never told a soul.
Yeah.
They didn't say they were hurting. They didn't tell anyone.
Most people don't.
They were, one of them was clinically diagnosed with schizophrenia. And he had just started seeking help. But then all of a sudden, there was no tomorrow for him. And he just knew there was no tomorrow for him.
Right. In a situation like that, people like to say suicide is super selfish. There's always something that you can do. The fact is, I hold suicide as a personal choice. I think that, yes, you are probably going to hurt people. Obviously, don't do it in front of them. That's really going to be upsetting. Don't fucking name them in your suicide letter. That's also going to be upsetting. But you know what? Suicide, it is your choice to choose when to end your life. Most people will just like to let that finish up on its own. Some people won't. That is your choice. I don't demonize people for committing suicide whatsoever. Revenge suicide is not the same thing because it's not a desire to die.
It's like murder suicide.
Yeah. It is. The goal is to cause harm.
Yes. Cause harm to others, not just yourself, where you're in a closed room by yourself. Don't tell anyone. No one checks on you for hours and then finds you that way.
There is one more factor. I'm trying to sort of pre-negate any arguments that come in on this. There is one other factor here. He was a soldier. It is possible that his PTSD may have contributed to a fear of police. After the gun went off accidentally, it is possible once he knew the police were outside that he may have had a fear reaction. I don't think that's the case, just because if there was one thing not in that man's eyes, it was fear. He was not afraid of fuck all. Okay, so one more point to finish up here. This is not related exactly, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I'm going to put it in here. It's my podcast. I'll do what I want to. Our podcast, but you know what I mean.
We get it.
Of course.
So While researching Ronnie, I came across a ton of unkind stuff. And this doesn't surprise me, but what I was surprised to find was that the people who hold the opinion that this was a tragedy and not an attack are far more hateful. I came across one podcast in particular, and there is something that I need to say about it. And you know what? You'll be able to find it. It's not like there's a ton of podcasts on this guy. If you want to, go ahead. I'm not going to put him on blast. Again, not what I do. Use the hints, find them on your own. The podcast is wildly hateful and hypocritical, and honestly completely fallacious as well. They use this story and some others to discuss suicide, specifically the pandemic suicide increase. Whether or not this was their intention, their message was that people kill themselves because they have shitty friends who didn't try hard enough to save them. And I know all of my hosts here are going to back me up. One of the hosts claimed that they personally have talked several people out of killing themselves just by reaching out and being a good friend. I cannot stress this enough. We cannot stress this enough. If your friend commits suicide, it is not your fault. You are not responsible for anyone else's actions. Most people who commit suicide will show no indication before they do. Sometimes people who are depressed will talk about being suicidal. What these people need is validation. And that's not the same thing as attention. Validate them if you are comfortable with it. If you are not comfortable with it, do what you can to inform people who are better equipped than you to handle the situation. This podcast also claimed that you're a bad person if you call the police when someone tells you that they're thinking about harming themselves. You're not. Good for you for taking action. You may have helped them. If they are serious about it, they may get the help they need. If they are embarrassed by it, they weren't serious and should never have done that to you. This podcast also dismissed posting thoughts, prayers, and suicide hotline, suicide resources links on social media in response to a tragedy. They called it virtue signaling and said, guess what? It makes you a shitty person. It doesn't. You're not hurting anybody. Maybe it helps you compartmentalize your emotions. That's valid. Furthermore, don't listen to someone who slams virtue signaling while using their podcast to spew garbage from their fuckhole for attention. We podcast because we like attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Furthermore, the suicide rate is not a result of shitty friends. It is a pandemic. It is a horrible time for leadership. People are losing their jobs, their livelihoods, their family members, and their minds. We are just trying to keep ours. Inviting someone else's stress into your life when you are already stressed is not helpful. And so this podcast baffled me. These hosts managed to tell every person who has had the audacity not to kill themselves to kill themselves in the form of a 40-minute tribute about suicide sympathy. It was disgusting. You guys make me want to puke. So people will probably feel that way about this podcast too.
Well, let me just say, just because you talked a few people out of suicide, that just means they lived for one more day.
It doesn't mean that they didn't go and do it later.
They got to see one more tomorrow. That doesn't mean they're not going to do it next week. Exactly. That doesn't mean they're not going to do it next week. That doesn't mean they're not going to do it a year from now.
Are you prepared to take on the burden?
Yes. This has been one of the worst years I've ever experienced. I mean, I'm only 29. It's not, I wasn't around when and the world wars were going on, but come on. This is really tough times, especially for generational wise. It's a generational wide issue. There's people of all ages committing suicide because they feel isolated. They feel scared. They feel alone. So validation is not just for parking in this scenario.
Preach. Fuck yeah. I agree.
Word.
So I did it, guys. I did it. I
You
spent
did it.
hours reading about Ronnie, reading Ronnie's words, listening to Ronnie's voice, listening to Ronnie's seemingly only friend. And I did the research. And all it's done is convince me that you can't make a martyr out of McNutt.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Head on over to our Facebook and Instagram to join in on the conversations about all things unethical. Just search Unethical Podcast. You can also find us on Patreon, where you can get access to all of our super awesome content, uncut videos of our discussions, and early release of all the episodes. We are adding fun stuff all the time, so you should definitely come and check it out. Thanks again. We appreciate all of you.
Shimmy, shimmy, y'all, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Baby, I got your money. Hey, dirty.